Delighted to say, despite going to visit David Hay briefly in Manchester via helicopter, Johnny Giles is still with us here in the studio to answer just a few more questions about this book, which he's promoting at the moment, A Football Man by John Giles. We spoke a little bit about player power, Simon mentioning about Wayne Rooney and Manchester United and the links there. When you started at Manchester United, I read that you signed for a signing-on fee of £10 way back when. What do you make of the money in the game these days?
Well, I think it's incredible. I think there has to be a balance, or should have been a balance struck between my day and today. Now, I do have sympathy with the players, because I was a player myself, and the clubs in my day were actually very, very mean. There was no respect or affection for players. I've seen players at 15 years service would get a letter in the summer, your service is no longer required. So they were very cruel, actually, in my opinion, very cruel to the players in my day.
Has it gone too far the other way, though?
I think it's swung too far the other way. I think there should be a balance in between my day and today, because what's happening now, you see players signing contracts for 4 years, and after 6 months they want to get away, and the players want to get away today, they get away. So there's no benefit really in the clubs for any long-term contracts at all.
Let's talk about Leeds United of today. They're up against Hull in the Championship this evening. As someone who won so much with Leeds and was there very much during their pomp, how hard has it been to watch the last few years? Well,
I think it's been a disaster for the club. You know, they were in the Champions League a few years ago. They didn't qualify. They panicked. They sold the players off, and they couldn't have made a worse job of it as they've done. They almost went into administration, and they are coming back a bit now. What I do feel sorry for are the fans. I mean, they were always great fans at Leeds United, and they've stuck with the fans through thick and thin in recent years. They're coming back a little bit now. As you know, they're getting to 25 to 30,000 matches. If they got into the Premiership, there would be 40,000. Stadium is brilliant. So, I think Simon Grayson has done a good job. They're back in the Championship, which is one step away from the Premiership, as we know. So progress has been made. But I think it has been sad over the years, for the supporters particularly, to see the way they've gone.
Johnny, so much we'd love to get through, but we're a bit pushed for time. Just one final question, because last week an awful lot of talk about Gareth Bale, a wonderful couple of performances in the Champions League, and it sort of caused a lot of debate about whether you can class him already as a great player or just potentially a very good player. But you in your book outline what you would call your criteria for a great football player, which is what?
Well, you have the list there. I hope I get it right. Well, first of all, to use all the abilities you have for the benefit of the team. Don't remonstrate with your colleagues on the pitch if they do something wrong. Have the moral courage to get on the ball. I can't remember what the other two things are at the moment. You might have them there, do you?
I've got that. No public remonstration with teammates. Player must have intelligence and humility to play the simple pass when it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Enough players doing that now?
Yeah, most of them are. I mean, there are great players around. Like Paul Scholes has been a great player for a number of years. For one, I think Fabregas certainly has the makings of becoming a great player if he isn't already a great player. So there will always be great players in different eras. But the same principles apply, I think, for whether it be 100 years ago to today, in my opinion, of what makes a great player.
John, it's been fascinating speaking to you. All the very best for the book, and thanks ever so much for coming in.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Now, Johnny Giles was an integral member of the Leeds United team of the late 60s and early 70s that won 2 league championships, the Fairs Cup twice, the League Cup and the FA Cup.
Well, he's now a football pundit in Ireland. He's just released this autobiography. Oh, nearly dropped it. It's titled A Football Man. Chris Dawkes went to Ellen Road to meet him.
Johnny Giles was the linchpin in the Leeds United midfield during the club's most successful period ever. Tough in the tackle, but with the grace and fleet of foot to bamboozle the top defences in the country. He was an exponent of unstoppable shots, an expert penalty taker, and his partnership with Billy Bremner in the centre of midfield was undoubtedly one of the best this country has ever seen.
John, it must bring back a lot of happy memories being back here at Ellen Road.
Yeah, it's great being back here. I don't get back very often. I see the lads now and again. Been to a few matches, but not many. Certainly the ground is looking great, but it certainly brings back very happy memories from Leeds. Yeah.
Looking back, do you think that team actually got the credit they deserved?
No, I think we got a reputation that we didn't deserve, because every time we read about Leeds, it's dirty Leeds, and we've had a really hard time. We've been crucified by a lot of people the last 30 odd years, and I think that's wrong. I think we were a tough team, but there were a lot of other tough teams around in my day, and what I do resent is the fact when they talk about those days and they talk about our tough attitude, they don't mention and balance it with the ability that we had. You know, I don't mind people saying, even to me, you were a dirty little so-and-so, if they said, well, you could play. But that hasn't been the approach to the Leeds United team, who in my opinion were one of the greatest teams of all time.
I mean, when Don Revie left, he recommended you to the board as the next manager. Were you upset when Brian Clough came in?
No. I think there should have been continuity, and that's what Don was trying to do. But I never applied for the job. I never asked for the job. In fact, when Don told me he was recommending me for the job, it was a huge surprise to me.
I mean, a lot's been said recently about Clough's time here at Ellen Road. What do you remember about that time?
I didn't get on very well with him, and he didn't get on very well with the players. But I think overall, the stuff he did at Derby and Notts Forest, I think he was a genius. I think it was a wrong time and the wrong place for him here. But the way he was portrayed in the book, The Damned United, was very, very unfair and very unjust.
I mean, do you think we'll ever see the success your team achieved down here at Ellen Road ever again?
Well, you can only hope, but the times have changed a great deal, as we know. It's all about money now, it's all about finances. In Don's day, he could build a team, which he did. Norm was a great player, Paul Madeley, Eddie Gray, Peter Lorimer, Paul Reilly, all these lads came through the ranks. You don't see that nowadays. You see the Manchester City, they're able to come in, buy a team instantly, and like it didn't happen in those days. You could build a team. I think it would be very, very difficult to do what Don did. But at the same time, fingers crossed that the club can progress and get back into the Premiership and become one of the leading lights again.
Johnny Giles there. And to watch the full uncut version of that interview, log on to our website at www.itv.com/Yorkshire.
Gotta love that Norman bite your legs hunter, haven't you? Now,
he's certainly a man that divides sporting opinion, so it's not surprising a book about him. It's subtitled Revered and Reviled. We're talking, of course, about the former Leeds United manager, Don Revie, and a new book which has just been published.
Now, it has the support of Revie's family and is an attempt to address some of the criticism he faced during his highly successful managerial career. In a moment we'll speak to the author, but first I've been looking at why he was loved and loathed, probably in equal measure. Two views of Leeds United. This, the purveyors of the beautiful game. The FA Cup final replay at Old Trafford against Chelsea. A goal made by Alan Clark and finished off by Mick Jones. Just about as good as they come. But in the film The Damned United, an alternative view.
You lot may all be internationals and have won all the domestic honours there are to win under Don Revie. But as far as I'm concerned, the first thing you can do for me is to chuck all your medals and all your caps and all your pots and all your pans into the biggest flipping dustbin you can find, because you've never won any of them fairly. You've done it all by blooming cheating.
Revie presided over what many called his family. They adored him and won just about everything under him. But to this day, allegations about Revie hurt those who were directly involved.
Don was a very warm-hearted guy. He was dedicated to the job, and don't forget, produced. What people forget here with Leeds United, Leeds United wasn't a real traditional football area, and Don produced one of the best teams, in my opinion, that ever played in the Football League. Won a lot of trophies from scratch. It wasn't Manchester United that he took over, it wasn't Liverpool that he took over, it wasn't Sunderland that he took over. He took a team over who had never won a trophy before. And in my opinion, and I know it was a privilege for me to play with these particular players, we were a great team.
Jones, number 3, and too easy.
The new book by Richard Sutcliffe is pro-Revie and likely to go some way to restoring Revie's name as a great manager. As far as Leeds United fans are concerned, though, well, they know that anyway.
And this Leeds side is now turning it on. Oh, look at that!
Well, Richard Sutcliffe is chief football writer on the Yorkshire Post and author of the new book as well. Dirty Leeds, do they have a point?
I think when you look at some of the play, they were very competitive, and maybe they strayed through a few boundaries, but I think every team did at the time. You look at Chelsea with Chopper Harris, Liverpool with with the physical players they had there, and I think every side was the same.
That we just see an incident there involving Chelsea and Leeds United. I think that was the FA Cup replay at Old Trafford. There were feisty characters, Bremner and Giles, not to forgetting timid Norman Hunter.
Absolutely. They liked to battle, but the great thing was as well that often gets overlooked with them is that they could play. You couldn't go around as a team of thugs and get the success that they did and I think that's the sort of side that of Leeds and of Don Revie that the public don't necessarily see.
I mean, every time I see that clip of him soaping down the players after a match and personally being hands-on, they worshipped him and still do, as we heard there from Johnny Giles.
Oh, he was a surrogate father to them all. You know, you talk to them now, and you know, I really enjoyed compiling the book because talking to all his old players and the love and warmth that came towards him, and they were all wanting to get it because they want to get across the Don Revie that they knew.
But there were serious corruption allegations, Richard, against him. Where did they come from? Was it jealousy? Was it based on fact?
Well, it came out of when he left the England job. That's where a lot of his reputation was ruined, because obviously, and he made a lot of mistakes. You know, he went with one newspaper.
He went for money, didn't he?
He did. You know, although the flip side is that he thought he was going to get the sack. Earl Harwood was well connected in football, and he knew that Bobby Robson had been approached. And he left obviously that way, but he went with one newspaper. The other newspapers went after him. They came up with the Revie dossier, and but from that, the problem was that Billy Bremner also got the same accusations. He sued and won, and he won £100,000 in 1982.
Obviously, you talk about him being a family man in terms of Leeds United, but his family must be devastated that his opinion is so divided. Did they help you with your book? Did they talk to you about it?
Yeah, they were fantastic. I'd never met even before. I'd interviewed Elsie, Don's widow, before she died, but I'd never met Duncan or Kim. But they were fantastic. I got in touch, explained what I wanted to do.
But has it hurt them, this legacy?
Oh, absolutely. Well, you mentioned the Damned United. You know, it brought it all up again. All of a sudden, to a new generation, he became this sort of evil cartoon character, and you know, this is an attempt to try and redress that on behalf of the family.
Obviously, Leeds fans still revere him, though, don't they?
Oh, they do. You know, they still sing his name. Obviously, there's the cop bears his name at Ellen Road, and there's a statue that putting together, and we're actually doing a contribution from each book will go towards the appeal. They're trying to raise 90,000 to get one, because he built Leeds United, and it would be nothing without him. It was a provincial little club, and he transformed it. And I think Leeds has been a bit shy in recognising the debt it owes Don Revie, and I think it's finally getting round to sorting that out.
Richard, thank you very much indeed.
Yes, thanks for coming in.